Hey there, welcome. Many of you have been asking about the work that we've been doing at St. Louis Public Schools around their pre-K classrooms, and I wanted to kind of take a few moments here to outline that project and talk a little bit about what we've been doing. We have, in Cohort 1, worked with 18 pre-K classrooms in St. Louis Public Schools. And it has been a project of figuring out ways to help promote literacy in all of these classrooms. We'll begin cohort two. We actually began cohort two in earnest in August, and we'll continue throughout this year. One of the things you'll notice as you look at many of these images is this idea of soft spaces and spaces for reading. It didn't take much, but this teacher wanted to definitely have a place that was different and comfortable and had a color palette that worked for her. Adding these chairs, adding this carpet, and adding this soft couch all allowed for that to happen. Other teachers were all about really just making space. As you can see, many of these shelves are empty, but this is a step forward. I think that in many of these places there was too much. And as these teachers start to come back, they're really being thoughtful in their space about leaving space empty, not bleak and not stark, but leaving it empty and letting it grow over time with a sense of design and intention. Many of these classrooms continue to have traditional tables that look like this, but we do like these tables here that have the bins that can be changed out. So you can actually put Legos in there, move that out, put sand in there, move that out, put coloring supplies in there, move those out, and makes for stations that are mobile and different as each of the day goes on. We added these chairs to these tables. Sometimes you are going to have the tables you have, but we found these low-cost chairs were things that both the students liked and provided some level of choice in the seating in this classroom. We love this new tree that was built in that same classroom you saw earlier. One of the challenges in these classrooms were the window treatments, and this was a really nice example of a teacher being creative around the window treatments that are happening. We see some other examples of this that folks did to make sure that they weren't keeping the natural light out, but they were trying to make the view as beautiful as possible. And sometimes that's hard with old blinds and old shades, and they worked around that in a variety of ways. And so I was really impressed with the creativity that people put into some of these spaces, in spaces that were really hard to design in a number of ways. We talked a lot about the first initial experience that students had coming into the room. Love the fact, nice, clean storage. These pillows are a nice addition, but mostly it's a welcoming space from the moment that kids come across the threshold. In a number of these classrooms for a long period of time, that was a cluttered area, paper everywhere, cubbies right there, and we cleaned up a number of those spaces as well. One of the things you'll note is that a few of our classrooms did not have technology in them. We wanted to make sure that the ones that didn't had a large visual display. We think that's a super important piece. Some of our teachers chose some smaller spaces and some smaller furniture to add kind of different opportunities to their classroom. So all of these are nice additions. This is the new writing station, and it works out really well in this classroom. We talked a lot about nestable furniture, making sure that we could create and make space on the fly as fast as possible. And these stools are serving that role for this classroom. In this classroom, you can see the large rug. You can see a palette of colors that is coming together. Gray wall painted in the foreground, gray chair, gray carpet. All of those things are very thoughtful based on what light, what colors were already available in this classroom. Teachers took old closets and turned them into quiet spaces. Certainly we don't want kids in the closet as they're being punished, but what a great little space. So many of these closets were filled and stuffed with materials from prior teachers and teachers well before the ones we had. We had some folks that were creative, just laying this down on its side made a fully different experience. It went from a mirror that kids could stand and look at to something you could put manipulatives on. And I was really appreciative of the fact that folks did a great job once they had space in their room to rethink the furniture that they had. This is an example of a classroom that still has a lot in it, but the design elements are so different. Part of this was being able to move kind of the morning gathering space out of the middle of the room, move it off to the side, and it really changed the flow and the movement of that classroom. Some more pieces of the puzzle there. All of these classrooms are in progress, and all of the teachers that have been involved with this project know that it's a journey and that it takes time to really get to where you want to be. And it isn't something that just happens magically in 1 year. Just adding some pillows and some soft seating in this room has made a difference. Notice the board in the background. That was an old chalkboard that we teamed up with the folks at ThinkBoard to get those to be whiteboard spaces, give kids access to those boards. And most importantly, it helps to brighten up some of these older rooms. A lot of these classrooms were built in the 20s, and so they need as much natural light in them as possible. Teachers continue to be creative about having art and play as a part of what was going on. This classroom took an amazing transformation. The whole left side of this room was full of stuff last year and was really off limits to kids. And this teacher embraced really just a completely different look to what her classroom was going to be. And just really impressed with all of the different elevation from the stage, from the white table there, to the soft couch in the back, to a great new rug in the front, but really a different feel to this classroom going forward. Love the small stages that people chose to make. What a great opportunity for kids to start to get comfortable with getting up and speaking to others. A lot of folks took advantage of having an opportunity to have a quiet reading space to promote literacy. You can see a number of folks went about that in a whole bunch of different ways. We love these little things here. And then this is a great addition to this classroom as well. So what you'll see is that every one of these rooms had a lot of autonomy. They serve different kids, they're in different neighborhoods, they're in different size classrooms. We wanted to make sure that teachers had a wide latitude of what they were bringing into their classroom, as long as it did one thing, it served learning. And so we were able to get a lot of different options in some of these rooms. This is one of the largest pre-K classrooms that I've ever been in. And again, this was a space that was off limits to kids because of the things that were over there. And we recovered what I think is at least 100 square feet of that classroom by some of the moves that were made. This classroom over time is going to be one of the marquee classrooms that people are going to want to go see. We're still adding to that space as we go. We did some really simple things like adding covers to storage places to just take away some of the visual noise of the classroom. We found some cabinets that we could move around and have more flexibility. We were able to give kids more access to writable space. You can see that we moved some things onto wheels. All of these classrooms are much more kid-friendly, give kids a lot of opportunity to move around, and we've continued to see less visual noise in all of these classrooms. Another great little space in the corner of this classroom that was built. We thought about what kids could access and touch and explore. And we really thought deeply about the verbs of these classrooms. Lots of folks talking about explore and play and discover. We wanted to make sure that was possible. We were able to build things like this, where give kids a sense of dramatic play and imaginative play, and give kids also a dual opportunity to both store things and to be able to play at the same time. We saw play as central to the work happening in all of these classrooms. Lots of amazing little kitchens, lots of amazing mobile storage, and just classrooms that have continued to grow and evolve. So just really proud of the teachers that have worked hard on this project in the first chunk of time, and really starting to see some transformation happening. This is a classroom that really worked hard to have just the right amount of stuff in it. And I also appreciate that they're experimenting with some things. We don't know if all of those stools will be the right answer, but they also know that they can transfer and move some of those around to other classrooms as the year goes on if needed. But really a homey feel, a place where kids are going to want to come and enjoy, and be deeply a part of that learning. This is a sand water table that just got moved into this classroom. Some other quiet places. You can see nothing's perfect in these classrooms, but they're all moving in the right direction for learning. So that's really a good overview of this project and gives you some ideas about why, gives you some reasons to celebrate, and it also really speaks to what you can do with a small amount of infusion of ideas and resources into some of these classrooms. If you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. Look forward to continuing to share about spaces.